Well, a very good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, and boys and girls from every continent in the world that is tuned on to the Life Signatures Radio. I'm saying that because I see your signatures on the dashboard. Wherever I look at the statistics, I see people from across the continents listening to this. Thank you so very much. If these episodes are ministering to you in any one way or another, please share it with as many people as you can. And if you feel like you want to give back, there is a button for donating. You can click on that particular link and it's going to give you an opportunity to donate something. Now, we are in the middle of a series. We are talking about personal blockades. This podcast is always going to focus on purpose, productivity, and resilience. And right now we're talking about resilience as well as productivity. And we are talking about personal blockades. We've gone quite a long while talking about this subject matter, and I think it's important. And we started winding up, but it's going to take us a bit of time before we can even fully come to an absolute conclusion of this. So I'm going to give you a recap of where I've come from before I can add you something else today. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures Podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures Podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
So here we go. The first blockade we talked about quite a number of decades back. A number of episodes back, we talked about mental blockade. Then we went ahead and we talked about the spiritual blockade. And then we've been talking about cultural blockade, which we finished a couple of episodes back, maybe 3 or so episodes back. We finished talking about cultural blockade, which is powerful, by the way. All these things are powerful, and you've got to revisit each and every single one of them. If you're interested in this is like a book, by the way. You can go back quite a number of episodes back, maybe 20 or so episodes back to get the full package. Each episode is approximately 10 to 15 minutes or just about there. Therefore, you can be able to get a whole package. But right now, we're talking about the blockade of the self-concept. It is one of those that we walk around with. We carry. By the way, one of the things I need to mention is that all these blockades we walk around with. What is a blockade? Is something we believed to be a fact, even though it is not, and that belief makes us to act in a way that is limiting our full potential. We think we don't deserve. We think we cannot. We think we are not allowed to. Even though it's conscious or unconscious, we don't know, and therefore we stand on our own way of success. Who we believe about ourselves, or what we believe about ourselves, or our capacity and capability, our potential, our freedom to do, and our acceptance in life, they'll go a mighty long way in determining how our lives will be. See, a self-concept blockade is one of the most debilitating blockades that you can be able to talk about, especially when you talk about things that you walk around with. Once a human has considered themselves or herself to be an inferior in any subject matter, like we quoted this guy called Carter G. Woodson, I think, who wrote The Miseducation of the Negro. Once someone has believed in a low self-esteem, low self-concept, it inherently sets up a self-concept blockade. Like I've been sharing in the previous episodes, 4 or so episodes. it's created over time. This it's not something that, it just happens. It's built over time. If you're a parent, you can build this. You can build a self-concept blockade in your child. If you're a teacher, anyone who is in authority, if you're a boss, you can build this self-concept blockade in some people whom you have authority over. Or sometimes this can be built over by circumstances and experiences and situations that people find themselves in. So a self-concept blockade accrues over time, largely due to external input into our own psyches. If you keep telling a child that they are stupid and that they will never amount to anything, they will successfully believe that and install inside of their hearts, inside of their minds, a self-concept blockade until somebody else comes externally and tells them something else. Perhaps you've read the book by this man called Les Brown. One of his books, I think it's called Live Your Dreams. He writes very powerfully about a subject matter. He called it the chicken man. It so happened that someone who had a family, maybe 2 kids or something, and a wife, something like that. He was sleeping late one night, and then fire broke in, and he just jumped out of that particular place, and for I don't know if it was adrenaline or something else, and he forgot his kids. And the kids basically got burnt in that particular house. And the uncle to these kids comes, I think from the kid's mother's side, comes to the scene and finds this man and asks, where are the kids? Where are the kids? And the man is not able to articulate well and says, they left them. And this man starts beating, this uncle to the kids starts beating him up and calling him chicken. You're just chicken, you're chicken, you're chicken. By the time that episode ended, the man never uttered any other word apart from clucking chicken sounds. Such a debilitating story where a self-concept blockade went in a totally different dimension, and just I'm told that Les Brown explains that this man is found in a particular town. He pushes a handcart. It's not a handcart, these carts that you get from the supermarket, from the stores, and he keeps things in there, and he's just producing chicken sounds. From trauma, that thing happened to him. So we've been talking about this, a very sad story, I just feel like crying, but we've been talking about how we can heal the psyche, how we can heal the self-concept. Number one, we need to acknowledge the existence of the blockade, and we say that once you've done that, you've got to maybe get help of professionals, counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists, all these psycho people, right? You've got to talk to them and let them help you. Secondly, we've said that you've got to affirm yourself, open your mouth and speak positively. Arrange some words that you're going to say to yourself as if you're preaching to yourself in the mirror, preaching to yourself those particular words, those powerful words over and over and over again daily. And then number 3, we say that yesterday you don't shrink, because a self-concept, just like Chicken Man, forces you to shrink, but do the opposite. The price to pay is there. The price to pay is failure. The price to pay is shame. The price to pay is embarrassment. The price to pay is rejection. But that price to pay is not permanent. There's going to be a change of a tide at some moment in time. The permanence comes when we do nothing, when we shrink. So that's the recap. Today, let us talk about this. If you're going to take care of this self-concept blockade, number 4, have a long-term view of life. Short-termism is something that I started talking about long ago. I think probably I'm going to talk about it again when we're dealing with another subject matter in the next series that we're going to talk about. Very powerful series. You've got to wait for it. I'm going to announce. But it goes without saying that every time you have a short-term view of life, you tend to get overwhelmed. You see, if you have a low self-concept, if you have a low self-esteem, it will always be as a result of a short-term, sometimes maybe, let me not say always, but it's going to be as a result of a short-term view, or maybe present-term now kind of view of life. In the now, you might feel inadequate. And sometimes we go through it, different times, different situations, different seasons, we go through this moment when we feel inadequate and not able to measure up to what we are facing. And we have these estimations of ourselves. And this just narrow-mindedness of the now or the near future, it robs us, or it causes that blockade to be cemented, that self-concept blockade to be cemented, where you feel, I'm always going to be like this. I'm always going to be broke. I'm always going to be eating hand to mouth. I'm always going to be lacking. I don't see myself having my own. You see, it's a short-term view. But this can be cured. It is because the blockade is in operation. However, if you decide to have a long-term view, and this is organized long-term view called vision and also called purpose. If you have a long-term view of life, if you decided to have some goals, some plans, some vision, some milestones, because the short term becomes the milestones, but these milestones of the short term, they are directing and they are leading you towards a bigger one, all of a sudden you realize that you can actually be up to something great. And therefore that self-concept blockade starts wavering, starts standing on a shaky ground because of a vision that has been installed, or a vision that you're pursuing. And by the way, it is not just an issue of having, I have this vision, I'm going to be this. No, it's about every morning you wake up, you do something tiny or something major to contribute towards that particular vision. That is what happens. The daily orientation of your life is towards a particular vision. If your vision is to become a best-selling author, today what have you done towards it? Have you read something? Have you increased your skills? Have you sharpened? Have you written something towards that particular book? Do you have titles that you're considering to write? What are you doing towards that particular? You see, that long-term view, that goal orientation in life, it has a way of obliterating these self-concept blockades. You realize that you can actually be up to something great, and this will boost your self-concept by leaps and by bounds, and in the process you deal heavily with that blockade that is telling you to shrink, that is telling you don't measure up, that is telling you don't belong. So having a life that is targeted, a life that is directional, and then you add on the target and on the direction, you add urgency. What is urgency? Every day you're doing something towards it. Not having a vision and you say, I'm going to start working on it next month. No. Urgency is like, I don't have time. I don't have 200 years to be alive. But I'm here. I'm here right now. And I have a vision for this. Even though I don't have the money to do it. What can I do without the money towards that particular vision? What can I do? Can I create a program that can raise the money? What can I do? You want to become the best-selling author. What can you do? You want to become the best public speaker this world has ever seen. What can you do in the meantime? Maybe you don't have funds to join Toastmasters, but what can you do? You can speak in the mirror. It sounds crazy, but what can you do? This is the urgency that is following the vision that you do have. And all of a sudden, the man who had a low self-concept of themselves, that blockade starts being obliterating slowly by the things that we decided to do. And tomorrow I'm going to tell you something else that is going to help us just to add on to this. It's going to be a very powerful one. So until then, bye-bye and stay tuned.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.